Guys, firstly, thank you for the opportunity to talk. Really appreciate your time. So we have Frojax, right? And this is Forest and Jaxon, right?
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Okay, cool. So I feel right now that we're in the midst of this like awakening going on all over the West. And, it's triggered by so many things, triggered by mass immigration, Israeli influence, the death of woke, and just politics in general being a shit show. The product of that or the reaction of that seems to be nationalism, and particularly with white people, the Anglo-Saxon. And but to kind of like start it all off, I mean, I find you guys very unique, and it's interesting that you guys are musicians as well, because with people with right-leaning views, people who are a little bit more based, and the thing that really separates you guys is you seem to have integrity. I'm still trying to figure you guys out, but like, did you find it hard to establish yourselves? Because when I think about the music industry, most people are going to be leaning left. Most people are going to be pushing as much degeneracy as possible. You guys seem to be the polar opposite of that.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you. I wouldn't say that we are firmly established because, kind of like you described with the degeneracy and the left leaning, generally speaking, a left leaning attitude of people who are artistically minded. That's usually because people who are artistically minded are higher in trait, open to experience, and things like that. So they're more likely to be liberal. So that kind of, defines where my brother and I find ourselves. We found ourselves blacklisted, ostracized from people, and having, I mean, not to speak for both of us, but having an overwhelmingly, I'd say, negative experience in the music industry, because really what we're doing is against the grain and against the status quo at every turn. It would be a lot easier to compromise on that integrity artistically, spiritually, or otherwise, and just go with the agenda. But I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in trailblazing, however uncomfortable it may be. And I want to represent this new paradigm that we're looking for, where artists aren't just people who say what they're supposed to say and are media trained and don't make their own music. I want to see some people who have balls. I'm looking around at the landscape and I'm saying, who else is doing this, and also doing it in a tasteful in a more distinguished way as well. So I think that's what my brother and I are trying to represent and what we're aspiring to as well. But you can kind of take that and run with that as well.
No, I mean, I completely second that. I don't know if I would describe my experience in the music industry as negative, but I sort of just became disillusioned with the industry altogether. And I understand how phony it is and contrived it is and how controlled the narratives are. And I mean, I've had some minor experiences. He's primarily in the hip hop industry. They're a lot less inclusive than, say, the EDM industry, which I was pretty welcomed into, even as a straight white gorgeous male. But even then, it's full of a bunch of woke liberals, and I like woke liberals because they're good people, but they don't think for themselves, and they're not identity based, and they will go if it's not for people who think like us, and that's just the reality of it. People who think that way can only afford to think that way because great men have built societies good enough to where you have that leeway. And I'm not saying like I'm like a great guy or anything. I'm not a super genius, but I can just kind of see, I can observe the landscape. And in EDM, I ended up having to basically leave the movement because I started posting about stuff on social media, and there's certain things you just can't say. And I was, I guess, not so politely uninvited. But yeah, I mean, moving forward, I think we're just going to try to do our unique thing. I don't know if this is if this was a question, I've kind of lost track of it, but yeah, I see us just sort of forging a new path, being uncompromisingly authentic, and that'll probably lose us fans. It's already lost me money. But we're going to fucking do it anyway, so we're figuring it out as we go along.
Yeah, no, awesome. And you'd think that is what rock and roll was meant to represent. It was meant to be, and especially punk, right? It was meant to be rebellion. It was meant to be just saying it how it is. And that, to be honest, we're living in a time of mass propaganda, right? People just want authenticity. They want integrity. So no, I think long run, yeah, you've got it all figured out. And I mean, we'll get into it. I mean, we said a little bit earlier that we might have different views. I mean, that's the case for everyone. But I think as long as we can have these talks, this is the only way we're really going to move forward. And yeah, you're right. You're right. Like, especially
Yes.
with, I think the liberal mindset, these are good people, but even if you just look at the birth rate, I mean, the trajectory is these people are going to be extinct. And whereas conservative isn't, even if I don't fully see myself as a conservative, at least people are having kids. At least there's going to be, a future for that one. What, what, what genre are you? Because it almost sounded like a little bit of hip hop, a little bit of country. What would you define
We're
yourself
the
as?
Frojax.
I just say at this point the genre is Frojax. I don't think we look like anybody. I don't think that we sound like anybody. I'm not really interested in being compared to anybody. I think that most of these people who have risen in music are gay and weak and really just untalented. And so I don't really see myself, not to sound, weird, but I don't really see us as really existing in the same paradigm. I don't really think that we're making music in the same way that they are. So I think the genre is just me and my brother. That's kind of how I see it right now.
But in layman's terms, it's like experimental alternative hip hop and some EDM, maybe you could say that.
Okay.
Easy.
There we
Fair
go.
enough.
There we go. Hey, I mean, like, all these genres started somewhere, right? So yeah, power to you. So you guys didn't like sell your soul just yet, then?
Not yet. No, we're holding out.
Right.
What kind? I'm curious to ask you about the ink. I have to ask. We have like similar sort of ink. It's like sacred geometry kind of vibes.
Yeah. No, I got myself like Flower of Life classic. It's probably overdone now. I got it before it was cool though. I'm just saying. Yeah, no, this is all mostly when I was much younger. I'm 31 now. This is like when I was like a teenager and stuff.
Sure.
And like if I had to redo it, I probably wouldn't see myself getting tattooed, but I don't regret it for a second. And yeah, why not, right? So what have you guys got covered as well?
I mean, I'm on one arm all the way up to my chest. It's kind of like that sort of stuff. And what you said earlier is like, you don't consider yourself a conservative. That actually made me think of something because I view like the right wing and the left wing. We kind of just described the left wing as ultimately in its most extreme form a death cult because it's not replicable. They don't make enough of them.
Non-sustainable.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. But conservatism is often associated with certain things. It's often associated with like family and homesteading and that sort of thing. But in reality, it's just been associated with that. That's just necessary for survival. So the left wing, if they want to survive, they need to assume some of those biological imperatives that we have, one of which I believe is actually identity. But we sort of associate, no tattoos and have a bunch of kids and wait until you're married with conservatism. But I think those things are just more in line with what's lasting, like what's long lasting. So when you look at conservatism, it's sort of withstanding all of the perils, but ideologically, there's a lot of variance even within the right wing. If you've seen the charts, there's so many people that disagree. And again, like I'm an artist, like I'm very high in trait openness. I'm very high in trait extroversion. So I don't consider myself a conservative even. I just see myself as like an American patriot, really. I have some conservative views, but I largely don't even really align with conservatism because it's kind of boring. It's kind of like the stodgy Republican, like you get that sort of archetype in your mind. I think we're trying to reforge what that is. And a lot of those things are sort of associated with conservatism only because those are things we need to conserve in order to replicate our ideas. But I think the ideas even amongst the right wing are sort of changing. So I don't know. That's just kind of what it made me think of.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. And, the problem with the left is, when I have these conversations, I try to be like as central as possible. But because I'm criticizing the left, they automatically will label me, I'm on the right. Right. Whereas when I speak to people on the right, okay, we're going to disagree, we're going to hash it out, but we can still shake hands at the end of it. That's generally been my experience. And so because they have this attitude of just like isolating everyone, unless you are 100% in their camp, or that's it, you're ostracized. Like, and there's no in between. So I think this is where like people have naturally all kind of been pushed to the right side, you know?
Right. There naturally are some right wingers that will exclude everybody that's at all to the left of them. But you're right. I mean, basically, the pendulum over the last 15 years swung so far left that anybody right of center just became a right wing extremist. That's basically how they view it. You know, if you voted for you're in whatever the fuck that means. Can we swear? By the way, I don't know. I didn't ask you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not against it. You guys probably know what words are banned more than me, to be honest with you.
Don't say. Don't say anything racist. That's about it.
Decent.
Or you can't say Hitler.
Oh, we're gonna say that.
Yeah, probably Hitler. Is Israel okay now? I don't know.
Oh, no, dude. I don't know. And like, changes are coming all the time, I'm sure.
Yeah. Run it. Let's rock it.
Are you in the UK?
Say again?
Are you in the United Kingdom?
No, I'm from the UK, but right now I'm in Malaysia, and this is like a different setup. I had to like faff around and stuff. But yeah,
well,
no,
at least you're not
I don't know. Huh?
At least you're not going to get someone knocking on your door, you know, trying to send you to jail for talking to us.
Yeah, bro. It used to be the case that if you had a big enough following, the police wouldn't touch you because they're too scared of the backlash. But now we've had influencers arrested for what they say. So I don't think anyone's safe anymore.
It's frightening. Yeah. And we're next.
Oh, dude, yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, I think the best thing you guys got going for you never gave up your guns. Like, so they are scared of their people, you know, as they should be.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Where are we?
The UK is just fully draconian at this point. It is amazing.
Australia is right there behind them too, because they gave up their guns.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's sad. But we'll see. There is this kind of uprising right now, right? Oh, also, like, side note, are you guys religious at all?
I wouldn't consider myself religious, but I would say culturally I'm a Christian. But if like you put a gun to my head, I'd say I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I'm more of a deist, though. You know. I'm a deist, I would say, because I don't.
What is that?
Yeah, I don't. Well, it's an acknowledgement that there is a God, like a monolithic God. But it's like I believe that there's 1,000. The same reason that I don't call myself a Christian is the same reason that there's 1,000 denominations of Christianity. You know?
Yeah, and then my answer to that would be I believe in the laws of nature, but I believe in Christ as well as an extension of that.
Okay, cool. And
what about you?
You say you see? Yeah, like for me, I'm leaning more into Christianity, and I believe that there's a God, and you know, not to get too spiritual, you know, probably like yourselves, I'm a product of modernity, but I think you cannot separate English values from Christianity. Like they are one and the same. So if I have to sacrifice one day a week, or you know, one Sunday to go to church, and then by me doing that, I feel like I'm contributing to keeping that culture alive. And also, like, there's no values in there which I disagree with. Like they're all good. You know, you couldn't find an example of Jesus hurting someone who's innocent or doing anything like stepping 1 foot out of line, right? So in terms of people that you want to like, you know, aspire to be, like there's literally no better example. So in that sense, I'm a Christian. You know, I haven't fully committed yet, but I can't see anything wrong with it, you know?
I would say that's exactly what I believe. That's very well put. I've never heard someone say it just that exact way either.
Yeah, and I mean, like we can see too, like the more we've gotten away from it, society has just gone full degenerate. So again, if I have to take 1 day a week to try and like repair that, like so be it, you know?
Yeah, it's not a coincidence.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so with things the way they are, with what's happening in terms of like this huge surge of nationalism. Did I ask you? Are you guys nationalist?
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
Oh, it makes sense. I just thought I'd clarify. But like with everything which is going on, like white people, the Anglo-Saxon people are finding their balls again. Like, so what do you think got us to this point?
I think a lot of it has to do with our altruism and our patience being exploited virtually to the end of the earth. And I think that the level of lethargy surrounding that topic has reached an all time high because I look around at all the things that white people have really done and how much of that has been exploited. And I ask myself, what else could actually be done, whether it's for Black people or Hispanic people or for third worlders in general? What else could white people really do at this point to bend over backwards to help? And the main distinction I would make in the context of this conversation that might actually resonate with some liberal people is that we have to talk about the artificial nature of regime change. And when you talk about that, you have to make a very precise distinction between the American people and the American military industrial complex, which is not run by the American people, nor does it represent American people. And what the military industrial complex does is uses the military to facilitate regime change in third world countries. And in turn, you will have refugees and migrants from these third world environments coming into white Western countries and blending in with those people. Well, not really blending in, that's the whole problem. And it's just the common people that inhabit those countries that are suffering the consequences. And so that's one of the main things going on. That's a very important distinction I would make that maybe would make sense to a lot of liberal people out there. That when people are coming into our countries, it's not just happening arbitrarily. It is a product of the sins that has been committed by the American regime, which really goes in tandem with, and we can talk about that. But that is a very important distinction I would make. I'm sorry, what was the original question? Why are white people growing balls again? Yeah, I think white people are just getting tired of it. I think there's just a general level of fatigue and lethargy around the whole thing. And I think there's also a resurgence of, and Carl Jung described this, the resurgence of the collective will, which was the same spirit that took hold of Germany and Italy in the 1920s and the events leading up to World War II. This idea that we are a common people, we are akin, we do share blood, and perhaps that means that we are also, pointed in the direction of a common destiny as well. And I think that's something that people around the world, white people, are starting to wake up to. Who are we? Well, we are family in a sense. And there is something very exciting and liberating and maybe a little bit overwhelming about that, because in order to realize that sort of thing, you do have to put yourself through a transformation where you're grieving certain ideas that you might have used to believe in, like the idea of equality, which is a lie. So I think we're in the midst of an identity-based transformation right now, and I think that it's just the beginning. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that what it comes down to, it's like whether or not we pretend we're all tribal on some in some way, because there's like an inescapability of nature. Like you just can't escape it. We can circumvent it by putting on suits and talking about philosophy and Nietzsche or whatever. But there's no escaping the reality that we're humans. And even though we're advanced and we're divine, perhaps, or transcendent in many ways, we're animals. And we have tribal tendencies, whether that's racial or whether that's identity on the basis of religion or what sports ball team you like. But we're humans and we're animals and we're imperfect and we do have tribal tendencies. And we see that, like, the whole, oh, everyone's equal. It's like everyone knows that's not true. It's just, to what extent will you go to defend that false idea? It's just a masturbatory thing. It's this dance we do with reality. And everyone sees that. I mean, it's just, how far will you take it? It's like even the super milquetoast libertarians will be like, okay, well, I don't mind gay people, but when a woman tries to be a man, now that's just crossing a line. It's like, bro, everyone knows we're not equal. You know what I mean? Like, no two people are equal. On the basis of group identity, we're not equal. And that's just kind of the reality of it. And white people are just like, well, wait a second. White people are bad. White people are colonizers. Well, actually, white people kind of did fucking everything. Like, not to be that guy. And I would have never, like, it would have never occurred to me to speak about it in these terms until I was just told for years and years and years, well, you're white, therefore this, or therefore that, or therefore the other. It's like, actually, you're talking to me in fucking English right now. My ancestors are from Europe. European and American societies are the greatest societies ever devised by human beings in any recorded history. And like just acknowledging that, like here we are. And that's all it is. I'm just like, oh, I'm taking like empirical observable truth and saying, well, maybe it's me getting balls. And I guess in some ways it is. But it's like, well, can we just acknowledge the reality of it? Like, does that, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Just to play off, that makes
Yeah.
perfect sense.
Yeah.
Just to play off of that and to kind of juice it down a little bit. There's also I think, a subconscious realization. Well, a realization that started subconsciously, but is now becoming very much in the forefront of what people are thinking about, which is that everybody plays identity politics except for white people. It's really been this post-Enlightenment, post-Constitution era where white people have put their swords in the sand and said, let's try to be egalitarian. And we can talk about who, the real drivers behind those doctrines were, but it's really people of European descent who have been uniquely saying, let's try to aspire to a level of universal equality where we are all equal under God, etc. And I think that we've sort of the conclusion that we've pushed that idea to the absolute limit where the limits are just breaking. And we're realizing that, you know what, if everybody else is playing identity politics, if these are the rules of the game, it's time for us to join in as well. And there is a general level of backlash, which is fear-based, because people know that when white people play by the same game, we win. That's what's happening.
Yeah. So, I mean, just I can already hear the comments coming through. But so just to kind of like
Everybody, they want everybody to die.
That's what they say. That's a deflection, but
Yeah. And I mean, so like, it's not like, well, I'm assuming, obviously, like you were saying, Jackson, it's kind of like the West is literally under attack, right? Is that fair?
yes,
and
it has been.
And it shouldn't be a surprise, right? There's people like George Soros who literally made fortunes destroying countries, destroying economies. So this isn't new, right? But it sounds like you're just saying like, okay, actually, we need to stand up for ourselves, as in white people. We need to hold ourselves. If they're going to play that game, we just need to do it too. But and this is where it's interesting, you guys being magicians, because typically, like you say, left leaning and stuff, very welcoming, very open people. Would you allow for immigration still to happen? Like, would you allow for other cultures within the US, say?
No, we have absolutely no room left for that. The fact that we are still patient enough and tolerant enough to even have a conversation about it, it really speaks to who we are as people temperamentally. And I don't draw such a hard line in the sand to be harsh or to be mean, because it does make me uncomfortable, to be honest. I didn't always think this way. But if you actually look at birth rate statistics and things like that, and you examine our trajectory as you described, we are on a path towards inevitable extinction unless something radical is done. Now, a question you should ask yourself is, okay, if white people are obligated to allow immigrants into our countries, whether it's the UK, like where you come from, or the United States or Australia or Canada, okay, how come the burden almost exclusively lies on the shoulders of all the countries that happen to be white? I don't really see China or Japan or Singapore or Asian kind of countries taking people in, or African countries taking people in, or Hispanic countries taking people in. No, and the reason why is because it's really twofold. Number one, white civilization creates a certain texture and quality of life that promotes sustainability, and people are attracted to that kind of civilization because it creates a higher quality of life. And number two, there's a general attitude that non-white people have towards white people, which may or may not be thought of consciously. Sometimes it manifests itself subconsciously, but it is rather malicious in that it's very opportunistic. They see us as sort of fair game. Our land, our birthright, the fruits of our ancestors' labors are sort of seen and perceived as, oh, we can all come in and participate in that. But it's really a racial double standard, because I don't talk to any white people who think that way about other people. I don't talk to white people who think, hey, we can go do that to other people. It's really only white people who are uniquely allowing that sort of behavior to come in. So to answer your question, no, I think we have to have a complete immigration moratorium for decades. I mean, to catch up with the amount of illegal immigration, even legal immigration, HB1 visas, people that are replacing native white Americans, native workers, it's a huge problem.
Yeah.
And people will conflate that. And forgive me for going on a bit of a tangent here, but people will conflate that as hate based or angry or something like that. It's really a matter of, are you going to allow a bunch of people to come into your house? No. Why? Because your family lives in your house. Who are you going to prioritize? You should prioritize your family first. That doesn't mean you don't care about other people, but it's a matter of fact. You have to put your people first. So, yeah. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you? I'm guessing you're ethnically English.
I've never done the test, but I would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're also ethnically English. We're half English, half German. So, we have probably some heritage. I usually like frame it this way because you can say, "Oh, I'm nationalist. Oh, I want a country for white people only," and you can import all sorts of assumptions with that. But here's how I would frame it. I would say, "Okay, well, you're English. We're English. Our English ancestors came to the United States, escaping what they called the tyrannical government, and they devised the best society ever created, arguably. And then the society in which they came from, who was the empire that was most impressive prior, gave up all their guns. And now they have people coming to their door because they said the N word and they're going to jail for it. When our ancestors came here, fixed that problem, and we're like getting closer and closer and closer every day to losing it as well. And on top of that, we're letting, and I don't mean to put it so bluntly, but we're letting a bunch of fucking brown people in. And these aren't the people that devise these countries. And they're going to mix in with us and they're going to have babies faster and we're going to have babies slower. And eventually it's inevitable extinction. And if you believe that the extinction of the European, English, Anglo-Saxon people means the extinction of the West, maybe that's enough to motivate you. And if you look at it from the perspective of, well, if white people die off, there will never be such a society to ever exist again. If you believe that, I think that you would be quicker to want to protect it, right? But people don't view it that way. That's sort of the axle that people get caught on, is they don't see the importance of even propagating the white species. Now, I look at things differently. I see, oh, okay, well, if it is true that white people going extinct means we don't have this anymore, civil discourse, and it isn't protected legally, that's sort of the yeah, you get
I'd
it.
like to ask you something in return, and you don't have to answer right now. This could also be pointed towards your audience as well. So I know you said you're more of a moderate. You kind of play to both sides a little bit. And I appreciate the diplomacy. I think that that's still valuable, even with everything going on. My question would be, though, to you or to other people, maybe white people who are still not sure what side of the fence they land on, would be, you're from the UK. You think about family or your culture and everything that you remember about your country that makes it great. And the English Empire was very arguably the greatest empire in written history. You think about all the things that make it great, right? And then you impose this idea where a bunch of people who could have never conceived of those same ideas or the same culture, they come over. What makes us think that the people who never made that culture to begin with could make it now? Like you have all these things that make the UK so beautiful and valuable, the history, the lineage, the culture, the architecture. And these other people never did that. What makes us think that by bringing them here, they're going to be able to do it now?
Or
It would seem rather miraculous, actually. So you don't have to answer right now, but that's really one of the main points of contention regarding the immigration issue.
No, I mean, I don't mind. I'm open to these chats. And for me, like the premise of immigration, I'm not against that, but I can understand your stance. Like, we are in extreme times. We've never been in this situation before. We've never had, and this is what people really don't think about. We've never had planes, trains, boats that can transport literally millions of people every single day.
Right.
So when you flood all these different ethnicities into other countries, this is a complete experiment, and one that we don't know where it's going to lead. I mean, we can already see it's not going in the right direction, but still, people are holding on to, no, it's our greatest strength. Where? Show me the evidence, you know? Not to say that I'm completely against immigration. My stance would be, you know, like, let's just make sure we pick the right people who are going to contribute. And like I was saying earlier, you can't separate Christianity from England. So, like, for sure, I would prioritize Christians or overall people. If you have at least people with the same values, you have a way better chance of integrating, not just by getting someone from the third world and hoping for the best, because it's not working out, and it should be clear as day for people. And what was I going to say? Yeah, like, this is the thing. You know, I'm not here, and sounds like similar position for you guys. I'm not here to move in hate. That isn't what motivates me. The motivation is, like, how do we actually have a harmonious society, one that everyone's, you know, actually getting along. And there are literally people coming over. I can speak to the UK, but there are people coming to the UK, and they are targeting white girls with this grooming gangs. There is a racial hatred there, right? So are we going to bend over backwards and accommodate everyone at the expense of what? Our young children, at the expense of our own values? I'm not for, I'm not for trying to take away anyone else's culture, but that's fine. You can have your culture. You have your homelands. This is our homeland. And by importing all these people, one, it's kind of eroding away our culture. And it's because we have this unique stance of being accommodating and welcoming people in, we're also treated as doormats by some people. So all I would advocate for is for people to like stand up for themselves, really stand up for our culture, because it is, everyone will bash it, but at the end of the day, it's a beautiful culture. There's a reason why they're moving to the West and we're not moving to, I don't know, the third world.
Of course.
Perhaps where we might differ, and I 100% agree with what you just said. I think you articulated it quite well. The point of diversion might be that I believe the amount of force warranted for white people to stand up for themselves would be quite extreme, actually. In order for it to be equivalent to what's being done against us, it would have to be a tremendous amount of force. And again, that doesn't stem from hatred. It's actually reactionary in nature. It's self-defense in nature. And people will, to continue to sort of suppress that instinct of us defending ourselves, they will say that we're being hateful, right? They'll conflate it with hatred because we don't want our young, beautiful women and children getting raped by poorly smelling third world people. It's just what it is. I don't want to see it anymore, you know, and I got to be completely honest. I'm at a point where I don't care if it implicates me legally. I don't care if it damages my reputation. I refuse to participate in an order where young white women are getting raped, stabbed, or now, just like what happened in Chicago in our country, getting lit on fire by some guy who has 70 prior arrests. It is insane to me that we are living in a society where this is just allowed to happen and we're acting like everything's normal. It's unacceptable to me. It really blows my mind. And, you know, the first step is people realizing that it's happening. I think a lot of people have their heads buried in the sand, so to speak. But it blows my mind. So anything you want to...
I mean, eventually it's not going to take the observation of genius to notice that there's a problem. It's just not. Everyone and their mom eventually is going to see. It's just the question is, when it gets to that point, is it too late? So what are we doing now?
Yeah.
I mean, right now, all we do is talk about it. Like, we can't, we're not violent people. We're not going to take legal matters into our own hands. All we can do is advocate for the interest of our own country. That's all we can do,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I 100% get what you're saying. And like, essentially you're trying to be the counterbalance. Like, okay, this is what we're seeing as a threat. Okay, and as a deterrent, we need to match that to scare these people from doing that in the first place. So I get it. And I get, you guys, I think it's George Soros again. He's purposely, I'm sure there's many bad actors, many elites and stuff, but he's purposely put in loads of progressive judges in a lot of states, and they're super lenient on anyone who's a minority. So I think the
Not
guy...
a white guy.
Yeah, exactly. They try to mix the two. Oh, not quite, buddy.
Not quite.
Um, what was I going to say?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Oh yeah,
interrupt
yeah.
you.
So no. So all good. Because yeah, we're seeing like we're having this discussion, right? Um, what do you think? Is there anyone that goes maybe too extreme? Because we have people like Gypsy Crusader, for example. He's a bit more militant. Fuentes, who's just talking, but he's got his certain like the way he's going with it. Is there anyone that you think has taken it too far?
Well, I wouldn't condone the approach of sitting around on the internet calling everybody you see a nigger. I don't really think that that's an elegant approach to life in general.
Especially if you're Indian.
So, I mean, yeah, that's a question. But it's like, okay, there is a question of pushing the Overton window parameters to the max and seeing what people are comfortable with. And I think that there is value to that. What my brother and I are trying to do is take a more, I guess, clean approach, and that, we do hold dissident political opinions and we have strong convictions, but I don't think it's strategically sound to just burn bridges because somebody's different than you. I think that as white people, we have to be more strategic, and also letting our anger define us would only put us on a path towards becoming the same people that we are criticizing in the first place. So I think that that's a strategic error. So I do think in that sense there needs to be a bit of a white nationalist course correction. And as far as Nick Fuentes goes, I think that he's a overwhelming force of good. I think that his influence has reached mainstream bounds now, and I think that's excellent. And I think that that's going to allow a space for more people with different strategies and different mindsets to get involved in this movement and give it a reputation that isn't one looking like screaming at people on the internet all day. And we have our moments. I mean, we crack jokes and we're radical and we say things. I just dropped a song called Wang Half. It's called White Ass Niggas Going Hard as Fuck. But it's a balance. Like you
Good
have to have.
song.
Thank
Yeah.
you. You got to have fun. You got to joke around, but we can't allow it to just be fire and brimstone 24/7. That's just not effective, in my opinion.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. No, I agree with that. And we shouldn't be scared. Like, this is the thing, we need to get rid of all of this kind of equality has been taken to a toxic level. I'm not saying it's all bad, but we need to kind of assess when there's groups that can speak completely freely, and then yours is saying, "Oh no, you can't say this, you can't say that." We're only putting ourselves at a disadvantage, and we're not like kind of given that opportunity to properly think. We can't really truly express ourselves too. And to be devil's advocate a little bit, like
Sure.
one of the arguments that they always say is like, well, in UK, majority of let's say the rapists are white British people. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's a white country, so obviously majority of the people committing the crimes are going to be white. It still doesn't mean I'm
It's the
saying
per capita thing. It's like per capita.
That's
per
Hello?
capita.
the other variable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also that Hispanics are docked as white people. Problem.
With you guys, yeah, I see that they try and skew the numbers, right? They try and label everyone as white.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I think most people who are in the liberal side, they're just not aware of all this stuff, all these dirty little tricks that are kind of getting played. So, like, probably same as you, I think their heart's in the right place, but I just wish they were aware of X, Y, and Z.
Well, no, I guess just on the topic of like Gypsy Crusader and those guys, initially I found it incredibly off-putting, and for the most part, I would say I do. I just think it's like a little distasteful, but I understand it now. And if you look at someone like Handsome Truth or Gypsy Crusader, which largely I've been quite critical of, they didn't happen in a vacuum. They didn't just wake up one day and say, well, you know what? I hate niggers or like whatever. It's because, like, look at Paul Miller's story. Like, his life was ruined, completely decimated. He's like, I mean, I would consider him an ethnic minority. He's a gypsy. His life was destroyed by a postmodern neo-Marxist communist terrorist group, Antifa.
Funded by Soros.
Yeah, funded by
Yeah.
when he was just like a regular ass MAGA Republican person.
Right.
He went to fucking prison. I don't even know what happened to him there. It's like his life was fucking ruined. So it's like, okay, he didn't just become this. He was
Right.
made this.
Right.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
can I play that's very important in that it is righteous indignation that young men are feeling right now. And it's very important that my brother and I, we validate that, because we don't look at that and just say, oh, you guys are wrong. No, I'm angry too. We all feel it. We all feel that something is very, very wrong with not just America, but the soul of the West is just rotten right now. We're spiritually sick, and we validate that anger. We can't look at it and ostracize them. We have to say, okay, what's going on here? What led people to think this way? Because we'll have that attitude towards everybody else. They'll say, bring in refugees, bring in immigrants, because they're just trying to live a better life. What got them to that point? Well, why don't we invert that and ask that about our people? What got these young white guys so angry? What got them to that point? And so there has to be an effort for people to understand that anger. And I think that my brother and I, we validate that. And I think that we say, take that and, try to put that into something more productive. Like for me, I put it into music, I put it into commentary, but I do validate that anger. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. People are feeling it for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, the Paul Miller Gypsy Crusader story, it's actually sad. It's really sad. So like, it shouldn't be surprising why he's gone a bit more extreme. But like, that's no different to, the contrast would be, we have loads of Islamists in the UK, and yet they are defended by liberals because, oh, but we bombed their country. I mean, not me. I mean, this is more US. Thanks very much. But we did that, so therefore we should allow this. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, any extremism. And I think even with Gypsy Crusader, I think he's just trying to be like the boogeyman. He's trying to be the example of like, look, if you really want to fuck with us, this is the end result. So I think that's kind of like what he's trying to represent in a way. So I get it, even if I don't agree with it, I get it,
You just said something that ties back. It's a little bit different topic, but you're 100% right. How you'll say you'll have Muslims coming into the UK, and then the retarded liberal types will defend them, and they'll say, oh, because we bombed their countries. But that's when it goes back to making the distinction between the people and the regime. Because our regimes, our governmental regimes, they facilitate this warfare on third world environments, and they don't ask our permission to do that.
Yeah.
And then we have to suffer the consequences of all the refugees coming over. So they bomb all these places, then all these people from all those bombed environments have to come into our countries, and then we have to entangle with them in these ridiculous cultural arrangements that isn't good for anybody involved. And it's our government structure that's just standing up at the top and kind of enjoying the whole charade. So we have to. It's very important for us, whether it's as Americans or as Brits too. We have to make that distinction because we are cousins in a way, and our governments are not representing us fairly or accurately, and it's a problem. But that's a little bit different from what you were saying.
So yeah, boys, I saw the debate with Marquette, and so Forrest, you're the rational one, and Jaxon, you're the psychotic racist. Have I got that right?
I think that is right.
That's hilarious.
That describes us to the T, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Well, like, and this kind of ties into the Paul Miller thing because a lot of his arguments at the start was essentially, do you even qualify as being white? And he kept bringing up like these DNA tests, brings up Nick Fuentes. Well, he's part Mexican, so I would label him a mutt,
Right.
And I thought, like, whenever there's discrimination against white people, are they arguing if they're pure enough then? Like when people are talking about white privilege, they're talking about reparations, are they doing DNA tests on these people to see if they're white enough? No, everyone just gets his like blanket label and that's that.
Yeah, I want to say something to that. There is a very blatant racial double standard where anytime a white man has the balls to stand up and not bend the knee to all of the ridiculous theater that's going on right now, they'll be expected to precisely and to the T explain every part of their ideology about what makes a person white, what makes them European, to the exact percentage, the lineage, the genetic component, the phenotype. Whereas every other person whether they're Indian or Chinese or black or whatever, already has an inherent in-group preference. And they kind of just know naturally, oh, that's a Chinese person. That's my brother. That's an Indian person. That's my guy. That's a black person. That's my guy. They're never expected to elaborate on what makes a black person black.
Right.
Do we honestly think the average black person could defend that conviction the same way that me and my brother did? The answer is quite apparent. And so, again, it goes back to the same idea that there's just a very obvious racial double standard, and white people are expected to perfectly defend what it means to be white, which again is another culturally imposed barrier to make white people feel fearful to having collective interest.
And if we're going off of DNA percentages and genetic clustering, I'll put some money on it. Marquette, if you're watching, I know you got some guap, $100. We'll do a DNA test. I bet you I have more European DNA than you have African DNA. That's my assumption. So we'll go off that and we'll see who's more white and who's more black, if that's the communities we're representing, speaking for. But yeah, so just some context on how that it ended up being good. Like we got good content out of it. I enjoyed the experience. But he texted me, he DM'd me. I just saw my DM request. I was at the gym. It was a chest day. I was getting it on, feeling myself. And I opened Instagram and I knew who he was. I saw Marquette. I was like, oh, nice, interesting. I've seen all those like podcasts and stuff. I knew him largely from like the red pill manosphere, like womanizing kind of stuff, you know. And he just said, interview, question mark. And I was like, do you want to interview me, or you like, what are you asking? He's like, yes, I am interested. I saw your page, this, that, and the other. And I was like, okay, well, is it going to be like contentious? Because I've been critical of you in the past. I don't know if you've seen that. Is it going to be a debate? Should I prepare? Or is it going to be a good faith friendly conversation? And he's like, no. I'm curious to talk to the rising stars in this new white movement, or whatever, however he phrased it. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to bring my brother and we'll talk about it together. He said, cool. We show up and it's a live stream. We didn't even know it was going to be a live stream. It's a live stream, and he has the live stream titled "White Supremacists Nick Fuentes Fans." And I'm like, okay, first of all, I don't indicate anywhere that I'm either of those things. I'm not a white supremacist nor a Nick Fuentes fan. I would say I'm a Nick Fuentes fan, I guess. But again, it's just a weird way to frame it. And then during the interview, I asked him about it, and he's like, oh, yeah, I was going to interview some other people, and it ended up being you guys. So I'm like, you just kept the title, bro? Like, that's your cover up? I don't know. I just thought it was funny. But
yeah, it's actually very hard to change a YouTube title, so, you know.
Yeah. I know it's a difficult endeavor, especially for a black person. So.
Oh, that probably clears it.
Just kidding. They can do it equally as easy as we can.
Yeah, I mean, I think... preparation for this, I was watching it, and he kept saying, I think Jaxon, you brought up like there was this condescending tone, and he's saying this whole time like, no, this is just an interview. It's not a debate. I won't debate you because essentially I'll destroy you. Like he didn't say that, but that's what he kept implying like this whole time.
Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, you did a good job.
He actually did say that. He said, yeah, because if I was going to debate, it would be complete destruction. It wouldn't be fair. Like he actually said that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
But, I mean,
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, no, actually, sorry. If you want to chime in, I don't mind.
A huge delay. That's all. You go ahead.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay.
You're leading with you.
Yeah, that's my bad, boys. That being said, it does kind of raise a good question, right? Like, as nationalists, like, what is your nation? Is it a set of values? Is it ethnicity? Is it religion? Like, what does that mean for you?
I think it's all three.
It's all three, but those are all products of people. I mean, a nation, by definition, is a common people. It's an extension of a people's will. And I think that the people that make up America, the original American founding stock, would be WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant people. They come from England and were in search of something different.
And German and Irish and stuff. Well, they bleed in there too, obviously. Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would consider Italians and Irish as well as part of that. I think that they made irrefutable contributions to blue-collar work and things like that. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that it's identity-based. And again, every other country doesn't trip over themselves trying to define these sorts of answers to these sorts of questions, and that they just kind of inherently know that a nation is a people. Again, it's only people of European stock who have trouble answering this question. The only exception in terms of modern times seems to be Poland, and maybe you could say Hungary, but really Poland are the only ones who are holding that down in terms of having that same answer that I would have, which is that a nation is a people.
If you trace the etymology of the word nation, it goes back to, I believe, race. It means race.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and like same as before. This mixing of all these ethnicities, all these different cultures. Like, I think a liberal always just bring it down to the skin color, and it's so much deeper than that.
Yeah.
It's how
Right.
it's what your values are. It's all of these things combined, and
Right.
when you I've seen it in the US. It's common in the UK. People can't even speak the same language. Like, how can you have a functioning, integrated society if you can't even talk to one another, let
Yeah.
alone the customs and all of this, right?
It's a matter of trust. It's like the most high trust societies are racially homogenous. And that isn't just because they have the same skin color. Like you said, that's a ridiculously superficial,
Yes.
low IQ way to view race. That would mean a blind person doesn't detect the differences between black people and white people. Give me a fucking break. They have ears and they have a sense and perception of the way people communicate. And it's just, there's a texture to the way people interact that
Yes.
transcends the visual.
And your body is hardwired to have a physiological response anytime your body physically is around somebody who's different. And it's only humans of the animal kingdom that have tricked themselves into believing that that's not true. It's just very obvious. I mean, we are still animals. We've only tricked ourselves with these silly egalitarian notions that everyone's exactly identical. But the skin color thing is superficial in that it's just an indication of the depth of what's lurking underneath the surface, which is the hardwire. We are distinct people. We have different temperaments, different cultures that we create. We believe in religions differently. We have different moral compasses. I mean, the list goes on, and people will take that, and it makes people feel very uncomfortable because it's something that cannot be changed. It is innate. It's part of nature, and it is something that cannot be changed. But the best thing we can do with that is just express radical acceptance, and that, there are different kinds of humans that inhabit the planet, and it is just the way that it is. But the longer we try to fool ourselves into thinking that we're all identical, the longer we're going to be propagating this postmodern moral struggle.
Yeah. Okay. So to your point too, I think like a good example of this. I forget the name of the town, but in South Africa, and they have the apartheid. I'm pretty sure within that community, it's like the birth rate is huge. It's something like, oh man, actually, I want to check this.
I like nice dudes from the UK. Like, it's an archetype that I just really appreciate. The
Appreciate
Chris
that.
Wilson, the Diary of a CEO, like those kind of people, like with the accent. If you're like smart and you're very like temperamentally, like it's just a certain, I'm just like, yeah, that's my nigga.
Oh, it's all a flaw, mate. Yeah, the accent gives us a little edge, but it's
It
bullshit,
does. It
really.
makes you sound smarter for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But hey, I'll take it. That is legit white privilege, and fair enough.
True.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, like the birth rate there is like extremely high. So like there is kind of evidence to show like what you're saying is true. I mean, but
Where are we
this
talking?
that's in South Africa. It has like a white only
Yeah, yeah.
settlement.
Okay.
Yeah. So like there is evidence to kind of support like what you're saying, but I guess this is where things get a bit tricky because and that's why it's absolutely essential that we have these kind of talks because it's where do you draw your line in the sand? And we've already I think you've kind of answered a lot of this anyway, but obviously you're never going to please everyone. Whenever you set a standard, naturally, not everyone can make that standard. So, in terms of present day America, everything which is going on, what would your nation look like and what changes would you make?
Hmm. Is this sort of a hypothetical absolute power sort of question?
Absolutely. Like if you were the president, none of this like magic wand and all that stuff.
Okay, well, I like what you did there. So, well, the problem is that I don't believe that the president actually has a lot of real tangible power. So I don't know
It's true.
if my approach to
If you were the supreme ruler, I think is kind of the question. If you were the
Yeah,
supreme,
let's go for that. Let's go for that. Yeah, this hypothetical.
so the first three things to me are very clear. Number one has to be uncompromising, unapologetic mass deportation, accompanied by immediate immigration moratorium on every country, not just third world countries. We have upwards of 50 million illegal people inhabiting our country right now. It is beyond conversation, it's beyond debate. I don't wish them any harm. They don't belong here.
yeah, they gotta
It's
go.
simply irrational to think that you can just break the law as your first act of being in a new country. Because that's what it is. If you're an illegal person, your first act upon living in that country is a crime. Your existence is defined as a crime.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's innately the case, but these people need to go back to where they come from, and we can't, it's not sustainable. We can't expend resources or time taking care of new people. I don't think that it's an overall net positive. I think that white people will work those same jobs that they occupy just as well or better. I think there's plenty of blue collar white people who need jobs and opportunities, and I think those are being taken from third worlders. So first and foremost, there has to be an immediate immigration halt and deportation. Number two, we need to deal with the question of dual loyalty. Anybody who has questionable loyalty or is beholden to another government or an intelligence agency or anything like that, there needs to be a cleansing in terms of, if you are occupying positions of power or you are a representative of my country, I do not want you to represent my country if you are representing another country. There is an innate contradiction there, and that's unacceptable. And we can talk about the foremost one, which would be the Israeli one, and that's true. That is the most predominant one. But that would be a principle that I would apply across the board. If you're beholden to any other country, I don't think you should be representing my country as a federal employee. That would be number two. And then number three, we would have to have a conversation about people who don't want to be here. If you have black people or Hispanic people or people who say, I'm not going to assimilate to Americanism, or I don't like white people or respect them or their heritage, and I hate the country's a piece of shit. It's like, okay, why are you here then? You still want to live here. You still want to exist underneath this quality of life that was created by, our ancestors. But why are you here then if you don't respect us? In other words, we have to facilitate and mold a new culture that is pro-American, not one that is pro our own self-destruction. And that would take place in our media, our entertainment, our film, our music. We need to have I guess that would be a fourth point, but our culture, our media, our artistry, it needs to be representative of Americans and American values, not degenerate crap, not anti-God, satanic, demon worshiping stuff. We have to just get rid of all of that stuff. And it's a very pressing matter. So if it's sort of an absolute power sort of question, to me, those are the first four very obvious points. I could go on and on very much longer, but I don't want to consume the air here.
Well, then there's the obvious. We need to reestablish women's role in culture and politics. It needs to be basically their role in politics needs to be 100% eliminated. That would do it. I mean, they shouldn't be allowed to vote. Yeah, they shouldn't be. I mean, I don't want to make it illegal for women to work. I don't think that's necessary, but they would not be in positions of leadership on a governmental level if I were the supreme ruler. And yes, that would disqualify some otherwise particularly uniquely capable women, but it would be accounting for the larger problem, which is that women aren't supposed to fucking do that shit. Like, sorry,
it's also
my country, my rules. And the other thing with the whole immigration thing, people get really sensitive around this, and I understand it. If I was going to a new country and I was trying to help my daughter and my brother and everyone survive and get a better life, I would have a different perspective. But I'm not. I live here, and this is my country, and this is my perspective. And people talk about, the ICE people, and they're putting zip ties on children. And it's like, brother, if you allow them to, they're going to exploit you until your entire future lineage is extinct. That's a silent genocide. Like they just killed everybody that comes after you. And you're just, oh, they got separated from their, it's like, bro, if someone enters my house, in Florida, we have something called castle doctrine. If someone enters my house against my will, I can kill them, right? And people do that. You know, I hope that would never happen, but it is a right I have. And if people enter my country, we just say that's fine. They're entering my country against the law. They don't respect me. They don't respect the people who established the laws that came before me. And they want to make money and send it back to Mexico. Absolutely not. It's just not, I just cannot accept it, you know, and it's not that I can't put myself in their shoes, and I'm an empathic person. I'm actually quite sensitive despite what people might think, but I'm sensitive, which means I'm sensitive to me and my family's needs. Right. And if those are threatened, whether it's sort of like a far off sort of intangible way, or whether it's right in front of me and it's life or death, sue me. I can see the writing on the wall, and I don't think I'm sort of alone in the way that I view that. I just think I'm honest about it, you know. And like you said, I don't want people to suffer. I take absolutely zero joy in other people suffering, just to sort of allow that sentence to push this assumption of us out of their mind. It's like, I don't want to see people suffer. If I was the supreme ruler and I had absolute power, like I said in Marquette's video, I would just have everybody be happy and hold hands. But it's like we're talking about realistic. Yeah, we're talking about realistic responses to like geopolitics and immigration. Like, what do? You put your oxygen mask on before you apply to someone else. It's just that simple.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know you guys, it's kind of like a normal thing. If you have the birthright, you know, with, if you're a Jewish family or whatever,
right?
People fight and are willing to fight in the IDF. You know, if you're willing to fight and put your life on the line for a different country, naturally, where is your allegiance? You know,
right.
a lot of people are talking about, and then, yeah, you're right. A lot of people bring up this like, okay, well, even if the thing they're doing in the UK is, if you're a refugee, then you get automatic rights into the country. And like you say, it's at the expense now of its own people. And we can see that we're in debt. We can see that they are not a net positive to the country. Even if you took away all of the crime and stuff, just in terms of like the economics, like there's no benefit there. And a lot of people use that argument, like, well, they come from the third world. Do they not have the opportunities to try and make themselves better? And it's like, at what point, like, how entitled do you have to be to think that this is owed to you? Right. You know, we might be in a better position, sure, but then that's not like it just happened to be. Like this was worked for, right? We achieved that through a lot of generations of hard work.
That's key.
Yeah, this is it. Actually, yeah. So I wanted to have a bit of fun with this. We'll go back to the 19th Amendment and all that stuff too. I want to talk about that. So I've made a list, and I think I've got all of the main groups which I see in the US. And for you guys, I want you to describe them using just one word.
Are we going simultaneously, or how should it be?
Whoever wants to go first, just.
Should we like work on our answer for a few seconds, or should it just be the first thing?
It should be rapid.
All right.
Yeah, well, rapid fire. Okay.
It's like, all right.
Whoever goes first, just keep that order, okay?
Okay, you go first.
Are we going like back and forth, like my answer, his answer, da 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 da?
Yeah, I'll say the word. You go. Forrest goes, and then I'll say the next word.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Here we go. White liberals.
Demoralized.
Do I go? I just go immediately after.
Yeah.
White and pudgy. Just like marshmallow. Just.
Okay. Black America.
Crime. Sorry.
Loud.
White America.
Pride.
Weakened.
Liberal women.
Birth control.
Be quiet. Oh, that's 2 words. Sorry.
Silence.
Illegal immigrants.
Brown.
Parasite.
Yours is so deep. Mine are just like a descriptive term.
Sorry, it's just what it is.
Nationalists.
White.
Strong.
Boomers.
Out of touch.
Oh, what's the first thing that comes to my mind?
Maybe I'll change it. First, yeah.
MAGA.
It doesn't have to be.
That's good. That's good.
What was yours, sorry?
MAGA. I just think of MAGA people
MAGA.
now.
Well, they're coming up.
Yeah.
The evangelical Christians.
Zionists.
Boomer. Same thing. It's one and the same.
Zionists.
Like,
Enemy.
sorry.
Enemy.
Sorry, dude. First word that comes to my mind. Sorry.
MAGA conservatives.
Gay.
Okay. Okay.
Libertarians.
Oh,
Idealistic.
too smart for their own fucking good.
Same
Muslim
thing.
Americans.
Out. Get out. Oh, Americans? We'll have to see what happens after Nuremberg.
Wait. It's got to be one word, though, right? It's got to be one word.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Nuremberg. No, I'm just kidding. Boat.
Dearborn. Dearborn.
Yeah. Sorry. Am I going to go to jail
All
for
right,
this?
so
The UK? Are they gonna
yeah, so I think my YouTube just got deleted, but it's all good. It's all good.
You got some more. This is fun.
That was good.
That was it. That's the list. I mean, sorry guys. Next time I'll come prepared.
All right. I got you. I love word games, man.
Like, okay, so I mean, this is. Do we do women first? Or do we do this? Okay, but like in the U.S., you know, as you guys are well aware, the white majority is shrinking. 1960s, it was 85 to 90%. It's predicted the white population will become the minority in 2045.
Mhm.
Like realistically, how do you still see things playing out in the U.S.?
It's not going to happen. I just don't. I don't see it actually becoming. Anytime I hear projections now, I just think of the institution, and I wonder sometimes. I don't mean to call everything a psyop, but if they sort of predict these things, like what did they do during like the green? It's the environmentalist sort of carbon footprint. They said by this year, all of our natural resources will be. It's like they create this narrative in our own minds so that we just accept something. It's not written in destiny. They don't. They can't. They're not psychics. They can't see the future. I understand. The functionality of a projection. I'm not saying that all projections are scientific bollocks, as you guys have put it, but I am saying that you can use science to propagate a narrative. And that's been done before. We all lived through COVID. So when I see numbers like, well, by 2045, we'll be the minority, it's like, says who? If we get rid of 50 million illegal immigrants, what percent are we then? If we start having more kids, what percent are we then? If we get rid of all the people that shouldn't legally be here, what are we then?
He's saying like if that happened though.
Yeah. Well, I guess was your
This is good.
yeah.
No, please.
I guess I just would say I'm more optimistic, and I don't accept that number, right? I don't accept it because they're not accounting for a rise in nationalism out of nowhere. They're accounting for the current trajectory, and I understand that's. But again, it's the same thing with like what's his name, the hockey stick, and the environment. Like these people are wrong. They predict the future, but they don't take. I mean, there could be a world war and half the globe explodes next month, and then it's like, oh, the global population is now 3 billion, and it's mostly whites and Asians or something like that.
I agree with that. I think the optimism is the number one thing that we should use to oppose the black bill, but I have an intuitive feeling. I actually don't believe that those numbers are correct. I think that there's actually less white people than we're told. Also, I think I would extend that to America as well. Hypothetically, if that were to play out, which I agree with my brother, I don't think that it will. I think the collective European spirit will push back. But if it were to play out, it would say something like, prepare for your own slaughter. Because look at what's happening right now. We've implemented social programs. We've spent billions of dollars on these programs, DEI, affirmative action. We've co-opted our history. We've allowed millions of these people to spread into our countries. And look what we get in return. What do we get in return? We get zero gratitude. We get our women raped in the street, like in your country. I say that respectfully as somebody who really cares about what's going on there. We get our
No,
women
you're not wrong.
set on fire in public transit, and we're still about 60%, according to what like the public domain says, right? What do we think that's going to look like if we're 40% or 30%?
Or
Do
10.
we honestly think that they're just going to forget everything, let bygones be bygones, and just pay our old people Social Security? Do we really think this next generation of third worlders are going to voluntarily give their paychecks up to pay for white people's Social Security, the same white people who they were taught were evil and enslaved all of their people? And the reason why they came here is because the evil people colonized their countries in the first place. Do we really think they're going to assimilate and play along and contribute financially? No. They see it as a war. This is a battlefield to them. And that's just the unfortunate reality. And there is a spectrum, and this is what I try to describe to people. There is a geopolitical spectrum. You have America, which is really the last pillar. And then you have here, which would be like South Africa or even Rhodesia. And you have white farmers just getting obliterated by the black government, right? And by the way, another thing Marquette wouldn't even concede is happening. There's actually an ethnic cleansing of white people happening in South Africa. That's the attitude that non-white people have towards us. There is a quantifiable ethnic cleansing happening towards white people, and their response is, oh, that's not happening. So that's just something to keep in mind as a white person when you're thinking about your future and the future your kids are going to inherit. But again, back to the spectrum, you have South Africa and Rhodesia. Then you have, I would say, like Europe. Europe is on the brink of falling. And I say that with respect to you because I descend from Europe and I consider people like you like my relatives, really, in a way. And I don't want to see that happen. But I think you guys are skating on very thin ice, and I'm very concerned for you. I'd say you guys are running very low on time right now. And then I would say America is over here, Australia, Canada. There's still a little bit of time left, but the clock is ticking. And so the question is, if while we have any form of majority rule in terms of voting, legislation, judicial system, things like that, when we don't have that power of veto, when we don't have that political sway, do we really think the people that came here are going to treat us fairly and still try to uphold the doctrine of egalitarianism for white people? No, they're going to prioritize their own collective interest, as they should, as should we.
Yeah. Yeah, no, fair. And you're right. No, like I don't take offense by it because like you're just describing the reality, and we need to have these conversations if we're actually going to try and fix them. And I mean, like there's in terms of what you were saying, Forrest, there's been psyop of the psyop, and that has been something which has like nudged people to either not having kids or it's all just doom and gloom. I'm the same opinion, in the sense that I think optimism is our biggest strength, and if we just have hope for the future, chances are we're going to be okay. But yeah, we even saw, Bill Gates, who's been pushing the climate change narrative for the longest time. He's done a complete U-turn. So all of these predictions that they say, well, turns out we were wrong, sorry. But already, like, there's been so much damage done by this, just from a narrative.
These people don't actually believe in anything. That's the takeaway, is that they don't actually believe in anything. They never believed in climate change. They just want to control you. And so they'll prop up certain political narratives. They'll slide in these agendas when it's convenient, but they don't actually hold like a consolidated conviction. They don't care about environmentalism. I mean, look at what the Gates Foundation did to Africa, or like what they've been doing with our food supply and things like that. They only care about pushing along their own agenda. Forgive me for interrupting, but that's important, I think.
No, you're right. And it kind of like, when we're talking about this is arguably a huge issue, but there are multiple attacks on all fronts. We kind of have to be aware of all of them. So this is my opinion. I don't know if it's for you guys, but okay, we have to be aware of the racial element. We have to be aware of the culture getting eroded. At the same time, like the question I asked you earlier, if you're in charge, what would you do? It's not like, and I'm not saying this for you guys, but it's not like all of my energy would just be set on immigrants and race and stuff.
Right.
We same as you guys, I would have this course correction of like this massive deportation, literally like taking out so many people. We in the UK, we've also had a huge issue. Not just we have like you were saying earlier, all these people getting arrested, like 12,000 people are getting arrested for what they say online. There is this overreach of government right now that can be rescinded. We would actually give rights back to the people. We would have I think one of the biggest issues is this welfare state. And I think when you give handouts to anyone, whatever, wherever they're from, even like English natives, they are taking advantage of the system. Like, I think getting rid of that would be like one of the best things you could do for the country, and taking away a lot of this like free money that you're giving out. I think that will naturally get people out of the country. I'm of that opinion. Like, I don't think you would even have to use that much force. They're so incentivized to come to the UK or to the US that like they're only really coming for that. You know, I see them as just being tools used by the elites to try and, you know, destroy the culture or whatever. Um, and like, this is the big one. You guys have this, but the UK got rid of the death penalty. This is maybe my most controversial take, but that is getting right back on. Like, if you kill someone, if you are going to be a piece of shit, there has to be a consequence for your actions, and that would actually scare people rather than just, you know, putting them in prison and putting it on the taxpayer to pay their way. You know.
I'd like to play off of that. I don't know if you've completed your thought there.
Oh yeah. So wait, this is where maybe we differ. I did want to say this just quick. So, I mean, I wouldn't be against all immigration. Again, it would just be like, I'm happy to have people. I would prioritize people with the same values. I think if I'm going to preach like I was a Christian country and stuff, I have to have these values myself, and I have to replicate that, right? So I wouldn't have like a completely closed door, as if like, okay, if you're not from the same ethnicity, there's just no chance. I would
Sure.
still, I'd have standards. I'd have, you know, if you work hard enough, if you're actually going to be a benefit to the country, you can come in. And I think that will actually incentivize people to be better, to be, you know, a better person, to contribute more, whatever, right?
Spoken like a true white person. I think you're right. I think again, the racial things only become magnified when we're forced to confront them. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I don't think. I mean, the United States has never technically been 100% white anyway. It's not like, you know, when I imagine a future for white America, I don't think 100%. We won't even allow a Chinese person to come to Disney World. If you're not perfectly Anglo-Saxon, you're not welcome. It's like, that's ridiculous. And it's also unrealistic. It's like, I think it needs to be majority white, 85 to 95%. And we need to be incredibly strict on immigration if we ever do it again. I don't know. Can we make a good case
Mm.
for it? I mean, maybe if you take very, very, very select few like Elon Musk type people, if there's like an Indian guy who's like Elon Musk, sure, maybe. But it's like we're talking like exceptional people. That would kind of be the way I would
Yeah.
approach it. Like, what are we really gaining from immigrate? What's the net benefit? If someone can prove to me that there is really one long term, maybe I would be more open to it. But I just don't know.
The problem is that we can have a conversation about exceptions, but just not now, because
Right.
we don't have control over our countries. Idealistically, if we had equilibrium where we weren't on a path towards extinction,
Right.
if the UK was healthy and vibrant, if the US was healthy and vibrant, our people were doing okay, we're flourishing, we have stability, we have order. It's like, okay, yeah, if we have high quality human capital coming in, I mean, look, I like hip hop. I've been around black people. We can have exceptions, right? We can have freedom of association, but the problem is that we don't even have our we don't have control over our own countries, and we aren't even allowed to express freedom of association as white
That's what I
people.
was going to say. When we do it,
We're punished for it, in
Right.
other words. And then I want to play off of what you said before. I don't part ways with you. I would actually consider myself perhaps more extreme. Maybe we need to have a conversation about the concept of torture and the role that that plays. You know, the societies that lasted the longest were the ones that punished people for committing disorder, rape, murder, doing stuff against children. You know, we are such a principled country. We hail from common law. Like, we come from you guys, really. Our legal system is derivative from the British outlook. And we believe in fair and speedy trial, judged by your peers, right? That's sort of the constitutional principle that we've set up. But do we really need to keep extending these principles to people that abuse the principles and don't believe in them? At a minimum, if we complete trials for people, it's like, should we allow them to like feed off of government resources and go to prison for the rest of their life? I'm also a firm believer in the death penalty. If a guy goes on the bus unprompted, pours gasoline onto a woman and strikes a match and sets her on fire, does he really deserve to be breathing? I think that if you commit that level of disorder, that you've, in a sense, you've forfeited your right to live. I don't believe in that. And, you know, it used to be when people would commit heinous acts like that, they would be made an example of to prevent further disruption and further disorder from ensuing. And so you can make a case for, if you make an example out of somebody who did something really bad, you would actually be mitigating and reducing human suffering in the future, because you're making people who are shitty become fearful of doing shitty things. It's a very simple principle. And so you talk about what they did in Rome. If somebody did something like that, they would put your ass up on a crucifix, no questions asked. And when you're walking through the market and you see that, you think twice about stealing a loaf of bread. And I'm not saying that's what we have to do. We are civilized, right? We are European, but it's like, okay, what we have right now, it doesn't seem to be working. If people feel free, if they feel emboldened enough to go around and rape little white girls, is our system really working legally? Something's gone very wrong here.
I like the idea of due process and all that, but I mean, you can see, even if you don't take it to the extreme of like public torture, it's like you look at Japan or other countries that just have stricter laws. Yes. Singapore. And I mean, in Japan, they have a high conviction rate. If you go to jail,
it's like 99%,
basically guaranteed to go to prison, and
yes.
They have less crime. Part of that is because they're racially homogenous. They have less crime because they have social trust.
They have like no crime though. That's the thing.
Yeah,
it's
but they
like
have
zero.
no crime because even the people who commit crime, they just go to fucking jail, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts. The guy, like you said, like these people, I saw this like picture of like the last 3 dudes who killed like little white girls in heinous ways, and it was like between them they had like 180 prior arrests. It's like, how does that happen? Like, who is responsible for that? Someone needs to pay for this. This is like, I can't believe it's real, you know? So
yeah, and the legal system in general, like there needs to be accountability there. Like these people need to suffer as well, because that's just so wrong, you know. And like some of the stuff that I keep hearing people say, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but like some people are like, oh, there needs to be like a completely white state or whatever. Like there needs to be this internal migration. Like, do you see that as like a possibility?
You mean in America?
In the US, yeah.
It's already happening.
I think it's inevitable. I think that there's going to be enclaves. And we sort of see remnants of that throughout the country. There's like diasporas of predominantly white spaces, but they're not intentional communities. But we're going to start seeing the ascension of intentional communities. And Eric Orwell, who you interviewed, who's somebody that my brother and I are a fan of, is really a trailblazer and an innovator in this space. And one, he's got the balls, he's got the moxie to go out there and do this, knowing that there's going to be severe social repercussions. But two, he's also just figuring out what the legal parameters will look like for such an agenda. And so I do think that, look, the writing is on the wall for us. If it is a prospect that you can go out and get stabbed or raped or set on fire by some 80 IQ Neanderthal, then the question is, maybe we have to have our own community where we're a little bit insulated from that sort of thing from happening in the first place. And forgive the harsh language. I know it's very jarring, but it is a matter of honesty, and that these are the things that are happening. So I do see that as something that will happen in the future. I think it will be met with a lot of backlash, but I think that backlash will actually facilitate its growth long term.
Yeah. I mean, there are just issues with other cultures, and we have to be able to call a spade a spade. The big one that gets brought up in Islam. Islam is definitely an issue, and it's nice to hear that you guys are aware of it because of all the Israeli kind of propaganda and stuff. people are seeing the propaganda, and now they're naturally like, okay, all of it is lies. And it's like, well, actually, there is still truth to like what kind of represents and stuff. And the big one is again, you take away the culture, like how it's eroding our culture when they have things which like Muhammad's infallible, right? You cannot insult him. So when he married his cousin, it's obviously that's completely normalized within that culture. I think you guys have a huge issue with Somalia right now, and the average IQ is like 67 IQ points, which is lower than how you classify an actual retard. Like a medically diagnosed retarded person is like 80, I think. So
They're
like
inherently retarded. It's tragic.
yeah. So we have to have these conversations. We have to be honest about it. And I'm not saying like countries need to import the absolute smartest people. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of jobs for all range, but we have to kind of have some guidelines of, is it actually going to integrate? Are they good, morally good people and all this,
You just took the context of race out of it. And you just said, hey guys, a bunch of 60 IQ violent people with Down syndrome are just
hate you.
Yeah, who hate you, are just going to get flooded into your country. Everyone would lock their fucking doors. But since they're black, everyone goes, oh, just they want a better. It's like, dude, like, let's get fucking real.
Yeah.
This is it. Yeah. Eric Arwell. Yeah. I mean, I did the interview. I wish him all the best and everything. And,
I'll have to watch that interview. Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's on Spotify. And, at the end of the interview, I wish him the best. Instantly, I get so many comments saying like, and all this. And the reality is, like, I don't care. He's just doing what he thinks is best for his community. And he's not going out and hurting anyone. And I'd give the same extension to if you wanted to set up a black-only community. I'd say the same to, you guys have the Indian reservations. It's no different from that. It's no different from when Jewish people have self-segregated. It just became very...
to be better in every way.
Well, that's the thing, is that there's this sort of illusion that, when a white person does it, everybody else can do it, but it's like everybody else is already doing it though.
Right.
Every other group already has their own communities and they suck.
You go to Chinatown, there's ducks flapping everywhere.
Because it's like, again, it goes back to the question of immigration. The two are interlinked in that, okay, if their communities are great, then why do they come here in droves? Why do they come into our community? It's the same principle. It's just a matter of scale. So, yeah, we already have all that. It's only white people that don't have their own spaces. We don't have really, I would argue, hardly anything of our own at this point.
Yeah, well, it's at that point where if you try and represent yourself or represent your culture, you will just get bashed. And then you'll get bashed for having no culture. So it's at the point where you're like, your back's against the wall. You've got no other way. Like, this is just what it is.
And then black people be like, what you talking about, man? You guys are all the billionaires and you guys run Congress. And it's like 40% of those are fucking my name. Like, what are we talking about? You know what I mean? Yo, white people too, man. I don't know.
So I don't know if you guys have like kind of thought about this, but like obviously it's not just the US which is kind of having these issues. It's not just the UK. It's all of Europe. It's Australia. It's New Zealand. You guys did mention this actually a little bit, but like, what do you think? What can you see happening? Like maybe on a global scale for the white community, Anglo-Saxons, whatever.
I think that the term white is actually a product of our international struggle, because I think that when what we call white nations were flourishing and stable, I don't think they really refer to themselves as white people. I think the term white has actually emerged in a sort of reactionary sort of way, because the reality is that we are endangered pretty much everywhere you find us. The common stat now is that we are about 6 to 10% of the global population, and that number is exponentially dwindling. And so I think that there is sort of a common brotherhood and kinship happening right now, in that, I see my guys in Australia. I see my British guys, my Canadians. These are people that I care about. I really do. And frankly, more so than a lot of the people that inhabit my own country, because a lot of these people don't care about my country or my people. So it's like they want to send money back to their countries and stuff like that. I want to care about my people first. I have to say, I am an America First advocate, and that's first and foremost, but I'm very concerned and very much care about what's happening in Europe. And I think that we're going to see a more pressing sort of collaboration happening between people who are in this movement throughout the world. And we're starting to see that content creators all over the place. We have Ospild over in Australia. We had a conversation with Martinez, he's a Spaniard gentleman. So I think, like you said, having these conversations and we're sort of connecting all of the loose nodes, not just in our country, but everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I second that.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
I'll
go ahead.
Homosexuals or rhinos, that sort of thing, neocon class. But yeah, go ahead. There's a new question. Sorry.
Well, I mean, so this is like the other kind of huge element to it, and like you touched on it earlier, but so the 19th Amendment, what do we think?
Repeal it completely.
It needs to be thrown into the nearest furnace immediately and then just forgotten about as one of the greatest mistakes. It's landed us
where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, it's a question of like, okay, you have a document. What has the document produced? It's hailed as being revolutionary, right? Because it's about civil rights, right? So the question is, what have we gotten from it? Well, I don't really know. I can't really quantify what good has been produced from women having the right to vote, other than the amount of abortions that we've had in this country.
Or anybody except for land owning men of good moral quality that have to pass some sort of civics test. Like, it shouldn't even be 18-year-old men who are in college either. Like,
you mean they can vote?
Yeah, most of the people
the
that
voting
shouldn't be voting. Like, it should be like, I don't know exactly what they were prior to the 19th Amendment. I think you had to be a landowner. I don't know if like military service because how can you be like able to go to the military and not able to vote? So they had to lower it to 18 to sort of facilitate that equality. Yeah, and that I guess makes sense, but maybe it should be on a more individual basis, right? It's like women, 0 should be voting. Men, like if you're 18, you better be like in the military or landowning or have children or something. Like there needs to be some stake in the country. Otherwise, like what the fuck are you voting for? You could vote. If you could vote and then just kill yourself the next day, it's like, like it just shouldn't be structured in that way. It just seems
right. As in like what you
very few people.
Are you saying like assess how they are mentally and stuff?
Well, no, not necessarily. Well, yeah, that's a good point. But I guess I'm saying if you don't have stake in the game, then you shouldn't.
I get you. Yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah, someone could just say, "Nah, I vote for Kamala," and then just like jump off a bridge because they stubbed their toe. And I get that sort of insinuates that I'm talking about like people who are mentally unstable. But I just mean people that don't have stake in the game are people that
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that's one of the biggest arguments, isn't it? Like women. Essentially, when they vote, they can dictate if you're going to go to war or not, and yet they are not the people on the front lines. Obviously,
insane. That alone should eliminate their right to vote. That alone, that's the only argument you need, unless you want to say, yeah, let's conscript women too. And it's like, I don't want to conscript women. I don't want to do that. Like, and neither do they.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, doesn't make sense.
Was the original question what should be done with the 19th Amendment?
What should be done, but I can broaden it too because I want to hear your opinions on this too. Like, what do you think is wrong with dating women in the West nowadays?
Well, it's all me. Okay,
that's all you, Bucko.
Well, look, I'm very critical of everybody, really, blacks, women, all of them, because it's a warranted criticism, but it's not because I enjoy being harsh. I really do think it is necessary because. I love women and they love my brother and I very much, but the amount of quality that has been diluted it's profound. The amount of entitlement and lack of gratitude, bad general attitudes that women have towards men. It saddens me because I'm not one of these manosphere red pill types that just like to rag on women and have resentment towards them. I actually think that the dynamic between men and women needs to be one that is symbiotic. Symbiotic, is that how you say it? It needs to be symbiotic and well balanced. I believe that there's a natural divinity and real femininity and real masculinity. We balance each other out. We need each other to have family structures and things like that. But that whole natural order has just been completely destructed and or destroyed rather. And I think that a lot of that has to do with the hypergamy that's facilitated through social media and dating apps, which is the reason why you can have a 5 out of 10 woman who thinks that she's entitled to a tall, handsome, total stud muffin, right? So there's a complete imbalance in terms of the expectations that women have and what men have. And then also, in tandem with that, there's this young guy reactionary element where a lot of the young guys really resent the fact that they've been completely etched out of the dating market. And it created this gender dynamic that's very toxic, and people play games with each other. They play games with each other's feelings, and it's a big problem, So a lot of it, I think, is downstream from natural order and being ruled by the people who detest the natural order and wish to destroy us. And I think that that is something that must be fulfilled. We have to rebalance that, and it goes back to the idea of regime change and things like that. So a lot of these things are downstream effects. I don't really know something at the ground level that could just change the whole dynamic and make things more healthy and stable. I really do think that it is a regime problem. I think these problems are by design, but a lot of it has to do with the attitudes, the hypergamy, and then also the normalization of degeneracy and stuff like that as well. And I'm not so sanctimonious to say that I've never participated in it. Porn, sex, things like that. Like we all give into fleshly desires, but the problem is that, in the West, we've elevated this vanity and these base desires to being just socially acceptable because we've eliminated the element of taboo
Yeah,
and the
shame.
element of shame. A woman is now rewarded for being a disgusting whore than being feminine and pure and divine. And a man is punished just for making an observation about that. There's something deeply unsettling about how balanced that is. And so there has to
Yeah.
be an element of shame and taboo. If I were to tell my grandmother the issues of women today, she would have a heart attack, which is why I wouldn't tell her because she couldn't handle it. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think my brother and I are a little bit more blessed in that we have had access to women and we've been blessed in that way. But we've kind of experienced, I mean, you can talk about it a little bit in terms of practicing celibacy and things like that. I do worry about these younger guys nowadays being pushed out of the dating market, feeling ostracized and not really having any experience with women. And instead of having real world experience, they focus on pornography or video games or digital formats that they can use to fill that void. And that very much concerns me too. And so I'm not
Yeah.
interested in, you see a lot of these sort of Chad type dudes who like to dunk on the lower guy. I think that's bullshit. I think we need people who have access, who have capital to start looking out for these other younger guys. And I don't know exactly how to go about doing that, but at a minimum, we have to talk about the fact that it's happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you
Yeah.
guys think
Great.
about
Do you want to go,
Good.
Forrest, or I can
I
do my
think,
bit and you can go? Up to you.
yeah, you go ahead. I think he hit it all. I mean, all the stuff I would say.
I mean, so yeah, like, and you made a really good point. Like, this isn't just to like dunk on women. This isn't just to, like, trash women, right? But like we have to assess like what's going on, And I think women. There's been so many psyops, but women are particularly prone to them, and I think it all kind of comes down to just biology, like being the weaker sex. They are going to be more concerned with the collective, the community. They're the more social people out of the two of us.
Yep.
And a good example of that was it showed like who took the vaccine, right? One of the biggest psyops we all just went through, and it was in the UK. It was like more than 2/3. It was like 70% of women took the vaccine. They are extremely susceptible to this. So then, when you add in the degeneracy, you add in, like it's normalized in the US now for young girls. The moment they turn 18, they do OnlyFans. shame, and part of the collective kind of way of thinking, shame was such a good deterrent from keeping that stuff from happening, right? But yeah, I think, like you say, we're out of this like natural sink, and it's pushed women to become more masculine, pushed them into the workplace. It's also bashed them. If you want to become a mom, then you're wasting all this equality that we've worked so hard for. So it's like really drilled into women's heads that like kids and being feminine and like traditional is just the worst thing you could ever do. And oh, what about if he leaves you? What about if you're a single mom? All this, like they are scared shitless to go down the traditional route. And then at the same time, you've made men more feminine by making them simps, by making like almost they've been starved of women naturally, and then shown all this porn. They've gone more feminine. They've gone more into this like simp culture or whatever. And and you're right. I think where we can kind of like actually help, we need to be like mentors again, because I think the younger generation, younger men are just missing so much leadership. And I mean, this is kind of part of it too. Just having these like honest conversations. I think this is how we lead the way. I think the best way we fix that, pushing people back in sync, is by just like you guys are doing, being unapologetic, being masculine again, moving forward, creating the society that we want. I think that will naturally just put things where they should be.
I think you hit it because it's like I don't want to be rigid. Like I am
Mm.
again, I'm a political reactionary. I'm not a rigid guy by temperament. I'm very open. Like I want to leave room for exceptions. That's why I said earlier, like I
Yeah,
don't necessarily think all women have to be physically removed from their jobs because women shouldn't be working. And I don't think it look, there's a reason why Christian white societies are better than Middle Eastern Islam Muslim societies, and that the way that we treat women
exactly.
is part of that if we're all just being honest. And I think that you hit the nail on the head, Lewis. It's like once we get closer to the natural order of the way things are, the less we're going to have to quibble about, well, what exactly should a woman be doing? What, like the fact that we
Right.
even have to talk about it. What is a white person? It's like, bro, in the 50s, you think they were wondering what a white person was? No one had that conversation. Marquette wasn't saying, well, are you 70% or 99%? It's like, bro, you knew what a white person was. You knew what a woman did. You go to church on Sunday. We had just a natural order. And part of that was kept in place through like social oppression in a way. There's like a sense of shame for doing certain things. There's social mores. There's order. And again, part of that is like the legal system. Like certain places will enforce their laws and keep order by being strict legally. But then there's like the social cohesion aspect of it. It's like, are we in a high trust society? Well, we can sort of govern each other in a sense, or God can in whatever abstract way you want to view that.
If we had an equilibrium on the high trust basis, then we wouldn't have to be so rigid. People would just kind of naturally fall into place, which is what we had previously. So
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, yeah. And not to sound like a misogynistic piece of shit, but I think the greatest value a woman can do for society is have kids, right? And that really needs to be normalized again. Like, and we can see too. I think this is like U.S. data, but women are the most unhappiest they've ever been. So, like, no one's with the current system. No one's winning.
Yes.
To think that the highest value a woman can create is being a neurosurgeon is satanic. Like it's a crazy fucking thing
Well,
to
really,
think.
it's like secretary is not.
Well, right, like an astronaut. Women they're just like service workers.
It's like, would you rather create a human life, or you want to go work on a spreadsheet?
For a man? Like, would
Yeah,
you rather obey your husband at home, or would you rather obey some in an office?
yeah.
Like, are
It's
you
just,
fucking serious?
it's just getting silly.
Yeah.
It's getting a little silly.
Get back in the kitchen,
Yeah.
though. You know,
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Okay.
black. They gotta get in the field. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. They just have to go back to.
Okay.
All right, move on.
Brutal. Gents, I mean that's kind of all I got for questions. Do you have anything you want to talk about while we're here?
You did, dude. This was great. I will say these are the best questions and best interview we've done so far. This is the first time actually that we've really been interviewed aside from John. John did a very good job. It was just shorter.
Cliff did a good job.
Oh, Cliff wasn't. That was more of a combo. I felt like this was very structured, and I appreciate the intention you put into the questions. And you seem like I like it. You seem like a very genuine person.
Yeah,
so
I appreciate it.
I think you're doing awesome on your channel, and we appreciate you having us.
Yes.
Sorry. Are you saying Marquette didn't make the cut for best interview?
No, and it's not because he's black. He's just an ass.
Right. You guys are racist. I understand now. I get it.
I was just kind of sitting there kind of laughing a lot of the time, but they were like, you guys really fascinating. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's good. That's encouraging, actually.
Yeah, you never know who you're going to connect with, So it's a testament to just putting yourself out there and going for it, just like you are.
Yeah, hey, appreciate it, bro. Guys, I think this is the way forward, realistically. Like having these open conversations, like not being scared of these labels and shit. Yeah. I think that's the only way we're going to fix things,
For sure. Dude, we really appreciate the time. Yeah. This was a great conversation.
Excellent interview. Thank you.
Boys, thanks very much.